our guest for this hour already here, and we've talked with Craydel before.
Yes, we have.
We have had conversations about education and where it can evolve in different parts. Manish Sardana is the CEO and founder of Craydel Kenya, and we're now going to be looking at how Craydel is using technology to fix a broken study abroad industry. Things are broken, they need fixing. You're going to tell us how this is all going to come together.
Yep.
But before you do that, CT has a proverb from Cabo Verde.
Yes. This is an island country in the west of Africa. It's interesting. Island country in the west of Africa.
In the ocean.
In the Atlantic Ocean. Amazing, isn't it?
Indeed.
So the Atlantic Ocean is in West Africa.
Exactly. We have the Atlantic Ocean. Take that to the bank.
Okay. The proverb, a hot needle burns the thread.
So now that he said that, you can tell us what that means, what it means to you, how you, Manish, would interpret that.
It's interesting because we've used this proverb in India, where I grew up as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, originally also, this is actually a Jamaican proverb.
This needle
Original
and thread
roots
one.
of this is just a Jamaica, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And we use it actually quite often because life is very, very busy and very fast where I grew up from. And we do things very, very fast. And sometimes we don't think through things.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of comes to mean that when you do something in haste, it can actually lead to bad outcomes.
Yeah.
That's what it actually means.
Interesting.
It's a very good interpretation.
Very, very good interpretation. When you do something in haste, it can actually lead to bad outcomes.
Yes, even if your intentions were good to begin with,
Yeah.
the outcomes may not what you then realize.
But it burns the thread. The hot needle burns the thread.
Hot needle burns the thread. Voila. In the previous hour, we had a conversation about innovations in healthcare and what it means to deliver healthcare along those lines.
Yeah.
Now we're looking at, okay, there's a system that's broke. How are we going to fix it? Not broke like no money, but broken. Let me just speak properly. So first of all, just reintroduce us to Craydel and what Craydel does and, how it operates.
Yeah, so Craydel is essentially a technology company that is trying to use technology to fundamentally transform the way students today search and they get matched to and apply to courses and universities across the world. Mm-hmm. Allow me to give you some context. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I come from an education background. I was in an education tech startup in India. I was also the youngest published author of an economic school textbook in India. Mm. So I've been pretty close to education. I've been teaching students quite a while. And one of the problems that we realize, and it is also a problem that I went through, in my life, is, when you are graduating out of high school, mm-hmm. how do you pick up a university that you want to? How do you pick up a course? Forget even the university. How do you decide what you're going to study? What did you study? Let's start with you. What did you study in your college, university?
So I did a double degree in international relations and journalism.
Good for you. It's one of the 20% of the people in the world who end up in careers which have something to do with what they studied in college. 80% students eventually end up in careers which have nothing to do with what they studied in college. Mm-hmm. And when we went to kind of high schools in Kenya also, this was something that we realized that most students didn't know what they're going to be studying in the university. And the reason was that a lot of the decision making when it comes to careers and comes to courses mm-hmm. is very much driven by parental biases, societal biases, peer pressure, what the school counselor is telling you. So even if we've been to kind of, I think, 100 plus high schools across the length and breadth of this country. I have personally done career talks with thousands of students myself, all the way from Meru to Mombasa to Nairobi. And one thing we realized was that students weren't sure of what they wanted to study. And most of the conversations when it comes to education came to the same old medicine, engineering, the same science subject. Like in KCSE curriculum, for example, sciences is mandatory. Yep. No matter what you want to study eventually in your future. And the question that we ask ourselves is that if someone is asking you, what should I study? How do you answer that question? Where is the starting point? And for most people, the starting point becomes, what are your grades? Mm-hmm. What are you good at? Or what do your parents do? But these are not the fundamental determinants of For example, there are students who are good at all subjects, right? So what do you study? How do you decide that? So today, a lot of that decision is based on kind of fundamental biases, whatever you hear around you, and in most cases, what your parents are telling you to study. So we came up with a psychometric assessment that uses technology to assess your personality, your value system, your aptitudes, your interests, your behaviors, every single thing via an online assessment. It is 180 questions long. And that assessment helps you figure out who you are and uses that as a starting point for you to figure out what are the kind of ideal career options for you. And basis that, and you decide, for me to reach that career option, what are the courses I want to study today in the university. So this is the first use of technology that we are creating, where students are using technology, and we have thousands of students in Kenya who use our technology, which is what we call a career match assessment, to figure out what course do I want to study in the university. So that's the first part of it. The second part of it is that once you figure out I want to study a certain course, how do you decide what's the right university for me? So if you look at the Kenyan education system, we have a body called CUPS that essentially matches you, bases your grades into whatever university seats are available, right?
Yep.
And you hear thousands of cases of students who end up in courses which they don't want to pursue, they want to study. And sometimes you might end up in a university that might not be your first choice. Then there's another market of students who are actually traveling to study abroad. Now, how do you decide what university you want to study? Like, there are thousands of universities available across the world. How do you decide what university you want to study to? So typically the behavior is that I'll probably go on Google and I'll search for best universities in the UK or Canada, etc. And then you'll get like a information overload, and then you don't know how to go around it. So you end up going to what is called a study abroad agent. Now think of a study abroad agent like a travel agent. And before we go to study abroad industry, let's just look at how the travel industry worked, right? So if you had to travel to Nigeria from here, you'll typically go to a travel agent and you say, look, I want to travel to Nigeria.
Yeah.
Which hotel can I stay? And he'll email you or WhatsApp you 2 or 3 hotel options, and then you choose between them, right? But today, what do? We go to booking.com, we go to expedia.com, and then we say, I want to travel to Lagos. And it gives you thousands of options with users' ratings and reviews, with all of their prices and discounts mentioned, and you can complete the process seamlessly online. So what happened in travel industry is that with this information, symmetry which was created, users then had the power to be able to decide on their own without using an agent, which hotel do I want to stay in, which is the best fit hotel for me, and then you did the entire booking online. As a result of it, the travel industry got completely disrupted. So 67 to 70% of all global travel today is completely done online without using a travel agent. I remember in my times, we used to even use a travel agent to book a flight. I know about, my times were very old times. So today, the study abroad agent is very much sitting in the middle, deciding the right university for you. But who is the study abroad agent? What is the profile of the study abroad agent? What is the background of the study abroad agent? Is he an educationalist? Is he an academician? No. He is a regular business guy who came into this industry because there's a good amount of money to be made. They work with a bunch of universities. In fact, more than 90% of all study abroad agents in the world have probably less than 10 universities that they work with. So what he does is that when you go to him and say, I want to study this course, he has a list of universities, and out of that list of universities, he'll email you, here are the 3 universities you can apply to. And then the student chooses from those 3 or 4 options, just exactly the way it happened in the travel industry, right? Just keep drawing those parallels. The reason today that you need a study abroad agent is because information was not easily accessible in one place. The process of searching for universities was very difficult because you just have to go to Google and then hope you get the best results there. The process of matching to the right university, there's no technology available today. What is the best fit, best match university for me as a person who I am? What university will appeal to me the most? Where is the university where my chances of success are going to be maximized? It's not clear. And if you have to apply to the university, you are told that it is so difficult to apply to a university, you might not get an offer letter, you might not get a scholarship. So then you need an agent. So agent makes you believe that you cannot do this without my support. And so that's number one problem. The second problem is that the study abroad agent is neither qualified or nor incentivized in the right way to get you the best options.
Incentivized by whom?
By the universities.
Okay.
So, for example, we make a commission just like every other agent on the first year tuition fees. So, okay, so an agent will make typically a 10 to 15% commission on the first year university fee when the student enrolls to the university. So it is in the interest of the agent to push you in the most expensive university possible, because that's where he maximizes the commission for himself. Number two, most universities, almost every university offers scholarships and discounts to students, especially for international students. It is not in the interest of the agent to ever even tell you about scholarship and discount, because every time an agent will offer you a scholarship, he's going to make less money. As a result of it, you end up getting into universities at much more expensive cost than you would have otherwise. Number two, you might miss out on a ton of universities that could have been great for you that no one told you about even existed. And then number three is that you get matched to a university which might not be in your best interest. So we said that today the power center of this entire decision-making process, and imagine this decision-making process is so important, because based on this decision, someone's entire future and career is going to depend.
Yeah.
This and you know, the cost of international education is very expensive. You're talking about $50,000, $100,000, right? This entire investment is being made through one counselor sitting in an agent who's probably about 1 or 2 years of experience in this industry and telling you what's best for you. What we are trying to do is use technology to change the center of power from the agent and giving it to the student, saying this platform is all you need in the most transparent way to make these decisions on your own, that you don't need an agent anymore. So agent is going to try and convince you that you can't do this on your own. It is too complex. You know, the international education is a very high anxiety decision. Your child is going away for the first time abroad. You don't know what's going to happen to him. Is he going to be in the right university? Is he going to pursue the right course? Okay, so you would say, I need someone to help me in that process because I am too scared to make a decision on my own. So Craydel has built a technology platform that partners with hundreds of universities. Today we have more than 500 universities across 40 different countries in the world, where you can see all of their courses, you can see the university rankings, you can see their fee structures, you can see every single scholarship offered by a university. In fact, we have an entire section on our website dedicated to scholarships and discounts. So the information today is transparent. The information is aggregated in a very simple way, so that when you need to figure out, I want to study business studies or a computer science or journalism, all the courses are in one place. So search, we made this process super simple. Number two, we've launched a really interesting tool called the University Matchmaker. You guys should try it out. The University Matchmaker can try to understand you as an individual, ask you a bunch of questions, and then matches to you to the best fit universities. So you don't need an agent to tell you what's the best university for you. The tool will tell you in a much better way. And number three, through a seamless application process online, you'll be able to apply to multiple universities from the comfort of your home. You don't need to go to an agent.
Okay.
So we are trying to fundamentally disintermediate an industry which has been fundamentally for a long time been controlled by these study abroad agents. In fact, this is the only industry in the world which has not been disintermediated, where the intermediary is still critical to the success of the outcomes of the customers. If you look at travel, disintermediated. Commerce, e-commerce, disintermediated. Every industry in the world has been disintermediated. This is the only industry left in the world where there has been zero innovation, where still is the traditional agent on the street that people go to for help. And today we are telling people that you don't need an agent. You have this technology on your mobile phone where you can use this to search, get matched to, and apply to universities across the world on your own.
So where does Craydel come into this? Right here, you're saying go to Craydel.
It's building that technology, it's building that platform. So we are a technology company. Our idea is that the power dynamics of this entire industry is in the hands of a study abroad agent. So we are trying to take that power away and give it in the hand of the student. So our motto is own your future. We're saying your future is your own. You don't need to have an agent own your future for you or a counselor own that future for you. You get to own your future because today you have the technology, the information, the resources to be able to do everything on your own. Of course, we have a team of counselors to help you in the process. We have around 50 counselors in 5 countries, 5 offices that we operate in to help you through the process. So it's not just you're left completely on your own.
Yeah.
So we have qualified counselors, but our counselors use technology to give you a very well-informed options that an agent can't give you ever.
But okay. So then what does that mean? Here I am, 18-year-old, 19-year-old, applying to university, looking for options. I present myself to this technology. What happens?
Okay, so let's just take a use case. Let's say you want to do a master's in journalism. So you go to the platform, you say, I want to study journalism and I want to do a postgraduate course. Click. Then it'll ask you a bunch of questions. For example, do you want to study online or do you want to study on campus? So maybe you have a successful career here and you don't want to go abroad to study, you want to pursue a master's online. So that's an option available to you. Then you say, I want to study on campus. Then say, okay, so now we have to decide which of the 41 countries would you want to go to study. So it'll ask you a bunch of questions. For example, do you want to study in a country where you want post-study work opportunities? For example, if you were to pursue your master's in journalism in the US, you won't get that opportunity. But if you were to pursue that course in, let's say, Ireland or UK or Canada or Australia, you'll have a certain period from 2 to 3 years where you can actually work in that country as a journalist after you finish your studies, because the countries offer you that, the government offers you that window.
Yeah.
So we'll ask you a bunch of questions. Then we narrow down the right countries for you to study, the right destinations for you to study. After that, we'll ask you your budget and a bunch of other questions, and a system will generate an entire list of universities for you to do your master's in journalism across multiple countries, across multiple universities. Then you can now read about this course. What are you actually going to be taught in that course? Yeah, is that course in tune with the times, or is it an outdated course? You can see the fees, you can see the scholarships. You can see the ratings, the rankings of universities. You can see videos of the university, you can see pictures. You want to talk to the university, we'll enable that conversation with you, for you. And then from there, you shortlist, and then you use our system to apply for the university online. And in that process, if you need the help of our counselors are always going to be. So for every student, we'll have a counselor assigned as a relationship manager, whose job is not to tell you what to do and what to study and where to study. His job is to facilitate that process, that discovery process, that comparison process that you will do on your own, but we'll facilitate that process, because we don't believe in telling people what to do. Our idea is to kind of give you the power to do this yourself.
Sure. Okay. So you mentioned that it takes into consideration what career options for the future could be, so that by the time you're looking at this particular university, you know, okay, well, these are the courses they offer, this is what I could actually major in, and then these are the possible outcomes when it comes to a career in the future, whether you're going to work for yourself or work for somebody. Does it take into consideration also country-specific industries? Like, say, if you
want to build
Kenya,
a career in certain industry, then what is the right country for you?
Yeah, or if you live in Kenya and you're going to go to university in the UK, whatever, and if you decide to come to Kenya, does it come back to Kenya after your study, does it take that into consideration and say this is what the ecosystem would look like, and then that you could make a decision based on that?
Yeah. Very, very good question. So we do ask students this question, that do you want to study abroad and come back to Kenya, or do you want to study abroad and build a career for yourself there? So this is one of the questions or prompts in part of the process. So we do ask that. There is a lot of proprietary information that we are building today, which is industry-specific information. So for example, what is the best country to build a career in automobiles? If you want to be in the automobile industry, if you want to be in the aviation industry, if you want to be in the journalism industry, what is the best country for you to pursue a career? So we are building a lot of the proprietary data as well. Today, that data is not part of the technology platform, but it is sitting with us, with our counselors. So, for example, when someone told us that they want to do a business course, but they eventually want to work in the automobile industry because they're passionate about it, we said the answer is very simple. You should be studying in Germany, because that's a hub. So we do layer on that career-specific information on top of the information that I talked about earlier as part of the decision-making process.
Okay, we're going to take a break and come back and continue looking at this, and then talk about some of the other innovations that Craydel is making when it comes to then making a selection in terms of a university and university education. But just quickly before we go to that break, Manish, when we say that students may come to the platform and are completely green, have no idea even what they want to study, because you mentioned CUSPs, right?
Yeah.
And usually that's what a lot of people come to this platform and they're not really sure. Okay, I got an A- in my, high school exam.
Yeah.
Which is what leads me to then be able to study a certain course in university.
Yeah.
So now you're dealing with absolutely green who have no idea. How are they taken care of?
Yeah. So obviously we have a hotline number on our website. People can call us and our counselors can talk to them. I think what I said earlier, And you're right that most students, the fundamental problem is they don't even know what to study. Forget about which university to go to and which country to go to. And that's where we have our career match assessment. So we talk to the students, we understand their challenge, and then we ask them to take the assessment. Once they take the assessment, they get a report. Then they come back to us with the report. Then we use the report to assess who they are as an individual and then recommend the right career paths and courses for them.
The CEO and founder of Craydel Kenya, Manish Sardana, is our guest this hour. And as we continue to look at some of these things, we also have older students who want to get into university, older that maybe they've started a career already and they want to now, pursue their education. Maybe they didn't have an opportunity to do so. Manish, how does Craydel, cater for them?
Yeah, same process. I mean, if I look at East Africa, more than 50% of our students today are working professionals. Or students who are just finishing their undergrad and they want to study postgrad abroad. And we also have a lot of professionals who've never done their undergrad to start with. They started working right after high school and now want to do their undergrad. In Nigeria, as you may imagine, 90% of our students are all students who are working professionals looking to kind of study abroad. So the question is same for them. How do I decide what's the right university for me? Where do I get? So the questions that these guys are concerned about are slightly different from the undergrad students. So a lot of them are looking for countries to study where there's a path to PR. Yeah. Immigration is a very large part of their decision-making process. A lot of them are also looking for countries where they can actually earn while they're studying. Yeah, so that's a very large part of the process as well. And they're also looking at post-study work opportunities. So their kind of criteria and decision-making criteria has slightly different factors. And then our platform allows you to select all of your conditions that you want to in terms of your study abroad destinations, and it tells you all those. And of course, we help them in exactly the same process the way we help undergrad students. So the process is exactly the same, just that the kind of things they're looking for are slightly different sometimes.
Do you offer the information in terms of, because when you talk about education, especially abroad, depending on where you live on the globe, the cost of this education is a big factor for decision making when it comes to which university you will go to.
Absolutely. And we understand that.
Yeah. So do you give information on scholarships, on financial aid that's available?
Absolutely. I mean, I can proudly say that we are the only transparent platform on the continent today, where every single course that you have to study has a detailed fee structures mentioned on the platform, where every single scholarship offered by the 500 universities that we work with are mentioned on the platform. In fact, we have an entire section on scholarships. We click on scholarships and see every university across every single country that we work with and what's the scholarship they're offering. So it's completely transparent. I mean, as I said, I think I really believe that information is power, and today the agents are withholding that information from you see. It's not like an agent cannot build a platform and make that information accessible. It's not that. They can't do it. I mean, we have agents who've been in the market for 20 years, 30 years, and they're powerful and they're big and they're large, and they can do that. The reason they don't want to do that is because if they make that information easily accessible, they fear that their existence is going to be in question. In fact, we have some school counselors telling us that, when we go to the platform to them, they say that, are you going to take away my job? And there's that fear of kind of losing existence.
Is that fear justifiable?
No, not at all. I mean, we are in an industry. We are using, it's like thinking that if Booking.com made all the information easily accessible to people to buy, to book hotels, then travel agents will lose their jobs. Yes, so travel agents will lose the job. But, there is I'm an economics student. So one of the things that we learned is a very interesting term called creative destruction. Creative destruction means that you have to innovate to make yourself redundant. Because if you don't do that yourself, someone else is going to make you redundant.
Right.
Technology is going to make traditional industry redundant for sure. So the only option that one has is to build that technology yourself to stay ahead of the curve. Otherwise, yes, the fear is true.
The fear is real.
Yeah, the fear is real. I mean, that's what I told you, right? Look at the travel industry. 67% of travel agents across the world have died out. I mean, the biggest travel agent company in the world was which one? Cox and Kings. Closed down. Thomas Cook closed down.
Which means they were not able to keep up with the times. They were not able to
They were
innovate.
not. And they were fearing technology. They said, okay, the psychological barrier was that I cannot make decisions the way I want to. I cannot manipulate customers the way I do today if everything was like customers can choose. So, for example, today on our platform, someone wants to study abroad, can pick a university that is going to offer a course for $2,000 in the entire year. Education study abroad is actually, a lot of people think is expensive. It is not.
So what makes it so expensive then?
It is not. That's what I'm telling you. It's not. There are some traditional universities which are expensive, and there are some very cheap universities abroad. For example, we work with universities that are offering courses at half the cost of what you can study locally in Kenya. But now, why do the agent doesn't want to do that? Because he's going to make a lot less commission on that. So they don't want to talk about those universities. They don't want to even promote those universities. And our fundamental philosophy is that if you do what's in the best interest of the student, you are going to win in the long run. We will not make as much money today, but that is just fine. In the long run, we are going to win. So we are the fastest growing study abroad business on the continent today.
What's the output like in terms of students who have gone through the Craydel system and have graduated or are currently in school? What's happening with them?
Yeah, so I mean, this is like the best part of this entire business, right? Like when you see student outcomes. So we have kind of two levels of outcomes that we look at. Number one is that students who did not know what they want to study and came to us, anxious and confused, today took our assessment and figured out what's the right course for them to study. So the outcome that we measure today is that, they feel confident, they're enjoying their studies because they're into a course where they are feeling very, very good about. The second outcome is what happens to students who have graduated out of the university. It is too early for us to measure that because we're just 2 years old in the industry. A lot of our students have not graduated. But our first student actually graduated in Nigeria. In Canada, is now successfully pursuing a job in a financial services industry in Canada today. But we'll know more. But what we know is that our students, wherever they are in the world, they are sending us flowers, they're sending us gifts, and they're sending us their videos, and they're actually making videos of the campus. They're doing campus tours and sending us those videos saying how excited they are right now and what they're doing. Because the point is that we are telling the student that, this is your decision, this is your journey, this is your path. You need to make your own decision in terms of what career you want to pursue and what university you want to study. Our job is to enable that process for you. So that you can think through this entire process very clearly. The challenge today is that the study abroad agent is making a decision for you. So you never kind of get to own your own decision. Yeah.
So here you actually do then own it from start to finish.
Absolutely.
And then you can ensure that the outcomes are essentially based on you. Craydel is a channel through which all of this can actually then be done.
100%.
Okay.
And don't get me wrong, we're not just a pure technology company. We have, as I said earlier, we have a team of 50 counselors, but these 50 counselors are not authorized to tell you what to study.
Okay.
Their job is to use our platform to enable that conversation with the student to say, okay, let's sit on our platform. Let me ask you a bunch of questions. Let's go through this process together. And then we will find the answers together in this process. So we don't just let you travel this journey alone. I mean, we will walk the journey with you. Our counselors will walk the journey. But there is no incentivized. So let me tell you how a study industry works. So if you go to a study abroad agent, they will have teams. So there's a UK team, there's a Europe team, there's a US team, there's a Canada team, so on and so forth. So they have specialists available for every single destination. So you walk into the office, and let's say the first person you meet is like, I want to study abroad, not really sure of where I want to study, what university I want to go to, and you end up meeting the UK team, right? The UK team counselor is incentivized to only tell you to study in the UK because that's how he makes his commission. Even though the best country for you might be somewhere in Europe or somewhere in Canada and so on and so forth, his incentive is very much tied to selling Europe and selling universities in Europe. So he's going to do everything he can to push you into Europe. To UK. Our teams are not organized in terms of study destination. So everyone is authorized to work in every study destination possible. Because, we have this very strong belief on learner centricity. So we have this motto in the company where all our decisions are made on only one principle. Do what's in the best interest of the student. When one of my team members would come to me and say, okay, what should I do in this situation? I said, do what's in the best interest of the student. So that has made a decision-making process in our company super simple. If the best interest of a student is to study a course which is, 1/5 the cost of studying in the UK, let's do that.
Okay. But Craydel still does earn money in terms of
Yes, we do
commissions
earn money. We do earn
when
money.
this student has
When
gone.
the student enrolls to a university, we make money. Most often than not, we make a lot less money than a traditional agent will make because we offer scholarships. So by the virtue of that, we make a lot less income relative to an agent will make. But that is just fine. Or we might expose universities to students which are going to cost half what expensive university is going to cost. And because students can come to the platform, compare the fees and choose very low cost options, we do also might end up making less money, and that is just fine with us.
But there's an interesting thing here. You see, excuse me, because of your structure, your base is broader.
Base is broader, it's completely transparent, the student is empowered, he's the center of the process.
Yes.
It's all about the student.
And if the base is broader, it means the clientele is also greater.
Yeah, 100%.
And you see, apart from just the traditional way of advertising or letting people know, when you have a broad base, you have the advantage of word of mouth.
100%.
Because somebody who has gone through the process and has successfully done so will be your ambassador, because that is the person who will now be the person who people look to and say, well, so and so did this and it actually worked. So and so's child went here. Now, I want to ask a question. Whenever people talk of studying abroad, they think Europe, they think America, they think Canada. I'd like to move away from those countries.
Yeah.
Which other countries which are not in that region do you people also work with?
Yeah. So, India, for example, India is a really interesting study destination. The cost of studying in India can be as low as $1,500 for the entire year, which is 1/3 the cost of studying locally in this country.
$1,500 for a year.
$1,500 for the entire year, because the government of India offers a lot of scholarships, especially for African students. We work with Indian universities, for example. Did you know that every year around 25,000 students leave Africa to study in India?
I know there are many.
There are many that in my... So I used to previously work in Scan Group, which is a large advertising group here.
Yeah.
And I was the MD for Africa. And in my experience, I came through a lot of my clients in different industries who studied in India, actually. So India is a very interesting study destination. Of course, Australia is another. So Asia Pacific region, there are a lot of very good universities available. Today, Europe is very broad, right? You have the East Europe, you have the West Europe, you have the Central Europe. So we have universities across, So today we have universities in every single continent on the planet to work with. But yes, you're right that people do come up with some biases in terms of, their understanding of UK. So if you look at Kenya, it's traditionally a UK market. Also, you see there is some level of division in terms of ethnicity. So if you look at Kenyan nations, they typically prefer, we've seen they typically prefer UK. Because a lot of their parents have gone to the UK and come back from UK. So their starting bias is towards UK. And then, of course, one of our jobs is to kind of open up that bias and remove that bias and show them other options. If you see, there are certain communities who prefer Canada, for example. If you look at Nigeria, traditionally been a very UK, focused market, but now it is Canada. Now it is opening up to Ireland. So yeah, so it is growing.
And also
that diversity is growing.
Yes, you see, it also comes in against this backdrop of a declining population in many of those Western countries.
Yeah, that's a very interesting topic to talk about.
Yes, so that the issue of studying doesn't begin and end there.
Yeah.
There's the issue of the opportunity to
work opportunities.
And work.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You have some countries in Europe for the first time they are facing now declining birth rates for the first time in the history, which the population is degrowing. As you know, the reasons are many. A lot of people don't wish to get married. They wish to travel across the world. They don't have kids. So you have a growing kind of aging population and a declining youth population. And today these countries are looking for skilled workers, and they don't have skilled workers in their own continents. For example, there's a severe shortage of nurses in the UK. The NHS is completely broken in the UK. We all know that. There's a severe shortage of nurses. Today there's 40 to 60,000 shortage of nurses just between UK and a few European countries. The starting salaries for a nurse in the UK is today $4,500. Is guaranteed on day one by the government. But there's $4,500 per month. Per month. Now they are saying, I need nurses. Now I don't have nurses. So we have programs where if you are practicing nurse in Kenya, you can do a conversion program. A conversion program is a very short-term program for you to become a professional, accredited nurse, for you to practice nursing in that country. And then you start your work. So we also, I think we talked to you about it, that we also look at, work opportunities as a starting point for what is the kind of career you want to build. For example, if you want to practice law, you have to go to countries which have Commonwealth law, because then you can't otherwise come back and practice in Kenya, for example. So the biggest driver today of education, especially if you look at West Africa, Nigeria, is not just education, it's the work opportunity
that present later.
100%. And that's why they look at countries which offer post-study work permits, countries where you can take your even spouse and your family along with you when you're studying there, so you can build a life for you there, sir.
So what would it look like, do you think, if you were to take and look into your crystal ball and say, what would this look like futurely, whereby we have, it's the absolute opposite on this end of the pond, isn't it? Where we have a bulging population, youth population, who are looking for these skills, who are looking for these opportunities, and on this side you have empty baskets or empty nests.
Absolutely.
Really, what would it look like? I could take a guess, but from your point of view, where you're in this, what would you see?
I think we're seeing a lot of data points that show us where this path is going to, right? There's going to be so there are two things. Universities, number one, let's start from universities first before we go to the job market. Universities are looking for student diversity. Universities have rankings, and one of the very big determinant of ranking is diversity, student diversity. Now, traditionally, a lot of the international student population was India and China. They filled all the international students quota. Now, because of that, the diversity numbers are going down because it's not diverse. Now, you go to University of Sydney, for example, in the math program, you only see Chinese. There's certain universities in Canada, we'll only see Indians there. So they want African students, number one, because they want diversity. Now, to encourage African students to come here to those universities, they're giving them big discounts and scholarships. They're saying, we want you to come here. That's number one. So from a university perspective, there's a massive drive to get students from Africa.
Why diversity important for them?
Because they get rankings. The universities have ranking points. Universities are ranked globally. And a very big determinant of that ranking, apart from, for example, number of research papers published, is student diversity. And right now they're saying, all of my students, they all look like Indians and Chinese. So when students are coming, they're not even feeling they're in an international environment, because Indians are saying, when I go to study in Australia or Canada, I feel like I'm studying in India, because all you have is Indians everywhere. So, but more importantly for university ranking, so for the university rankings, they need diversity points, and they want African students. That's number one. The second thing is the work opportunities. There are so many work opportunities as we discussed earlier, like in nursing, for example, in engineering, for example, in medicine, for example. They need doctors, they need qualified nurses, they need qualified lawyers, they need qualified. Very interestingly, I figured out a college in Canada where they are teaching plumbing and welding as a course, and I was like, plumbing and welding. Like, why would someone spend all this money to come to Canada to learn plumbing and welding? And then they showed me the salary data. What is the starting salary of a plumber who also, or a welder or a carpenter who comes out of that course?
Please don't depress me. Okay, okay.
This I want to hear, please.
$66,000 per year guaranteed.
I beg your pardon?
$66,000 per year. That's around, $5,500 per month. Salary if you were to become a welder, or, like these, this is very interesting. Actually, I want to make this point about this. These are called vocational industries, yeah?
Yes.
Skill-based vocational industries. We have a parallel in Kenya, we call TVETs.
Yes.
So in a lot of kind of colonized markets, like India also included, vocational education was always looked down upon as a secondary information. So if you don't make it to the university in a liberal arts program, let's say Bachelor's of Arts, Bachelor's of Commerce, then you end up in a vocational course.
Yes.
But if you look at other countries, vocational education is paid a premium over liberal arts education. Because they're saying, I don't need another Bachelor's of Commerce,
Sorry.
or another BBA student. What I need I need plumbers, I need welders, I need electricians.
Case in
I
point.
need you to be very sure of what you're saying because.
But he's right, because if you want, let's go to Europe.
Manish,
Switzerland,
$5,500 is almost 700,000
Yeah,
shillings
yeah,
a month.
yeah. We have this data. We have it on email from the universities. There is, for listeners, you guys can look at the NOC list in Canada. It's called the NOC list, where you can see all the occupations where they have opportunities in terms of number of people they want and the salaries being offered there. I mean, it's all published, all the data. And this is the power. You know what I told you guys in the beginning, right? Information is power. Information is power. Information is power. You know, this information today is not accessible to people. That information is being hidden from people. Our job is to make that information freely accessible and available so people can make more informed decisions. So that if you want to go into a vocational industry, you just don't do a BBA thinking I'm going to make more money doing that. You see, medicine, let me tell you an example of medicine. Most people here, they want their kids to become doctors for some reason. We have kids coming to us crying, saying, can you please talk to my parents? I don't want to become a doctor. I'm really bad at biology, chemistry. I don't like that field. I don't want to be a doctor, but my parents are pushing me to be a doctor.
That's an issue, isn't it?
Medicine is a huge thing.
Because we're going to go back. Sorry, I just want to interject at that point and ask you a question that would piggyback on what you're saying. Because CUSPs have told us the same thing.
Yeah.
That you have a lot of students who are into the placement, but a year into the study course, they're dropping out.
Medicine has the highest dropout rate of any course in the world. Yeah. Generally speaking, higher education has a 40% dropout rate. I mean, I dropped out in my master's when I was studying economics, as an example. And that is because people get placed into kind of courses which are not fit for them. So now, let's talk about medicine. People are saying, I want to be a doctor. Now, what is the number of unemployed doctors in Kenya today? Do you know that? 5,000 unemployed doctors in Kenya. And medicine is one of the hardest courses to study. It's the most expensive course to study, clearly, and it's the longest course to study. So you endure all of that pain, all of that years of suffering, and those dropouts, and that cost to become a doctor, yet doctor has a extremely high. You're better off becoming a nurse than becoming a doctor, to be honest, in terms of just getting a job, especially abroad,
Do you think there will be we're looking at this and I think it's fantastic news because there are options for people. I'm still stuck on the 700,000 shillings a month plumber job. You guys could find me with a wrench, CT, just be careful. Anyway, we're looking at a situation whereby when we are encouraging folks essentially to apply to these universities abroad and then get into the job market, do we look at the issues of brain drain on this side, or is that not a problem?
No, I think I agree with you. I mean, I come from India. I'm a brain drain example from India. I immigrated out of India and I'm like in India, I'll be considered a brain drain example, right? I think there is, we know that we are living in a global world where the countries are connected. We are living in a borderless world. People are going to migrate one way or the other. Eventually, people are going to seek what's in their personal best interest in terms of securing the best future for themselves and their family. So you cannot stop that from happening, right? I mean, it is going to happen. It is for the country to create opportunities for them to kind of stay there and then build. Like if you can give opportunities, as I said, to kind of vocational education courses where people can become successful carpenters here and build a kind of living and life that they would want to build for their family without having to travel abroad, they will not. But it is a natural consequence of living in a global world that it is going to happen. And I think there are a lot of advantages to it as well. A lot of people come back to the country. A lot of people, I mean, if you look at the amount of remittances coming to India from Kenyans living abroad and working abroad, it is massive. There's billions of dollars of money coming every year in Kenya from people who are working abroad, Kenyans who are working abroad. And that money is coming back into the economy.
Sure.
They're using that money to build, houses for their parents, in the villages.
Indeed.
So that a lot of that money is coming back to the country. And imagine if that guy has not gone abroad to study and to work there, that money would have not come back to the country. So there's a lot of money that is coming back to the country. Like, for example, I do also a lot of my investments back in India. So a lot of the money is going back, in their home country as well.
Indeed. So as we look at, what month are we in? We're in July, and there's a lot of intake right now happening for lots of the universities in the western side of the world. and maybe also the Eastern, but the
Yeah.
intake into the next semester. So do we have a lot of people from this part of the world now applying and getting into intake for the semester?
Yeah, so the latest intake now is September intake. The September intake is also usually the biggest intake in the year. So there's a lot of work going on right now, a lot of applications happening right now. So yeah, we've seen thousands of applications this year just to Craydel platform for the September intake. The next intake is going to be January and February, and then May, and then August. But the biggest intake in the year is September intake. So this is a time where, but I think anyone who had to apply to September have mostly finished their applications by now. So now we are focusing on their visa processes, etc., because there's a lot of visa work that needs to happen for study abroad, and that's where we also have a lot of expertise.
Also, do
We
you support
process
that
visas.
as well?
Yeah. So we help students in the entire visa process, even finding them accommodation abroad, in their flight booking, everything. We do the entire process from finding the right university for you, the right course for you, application to the university, all the way to visa, accommodation, travel, everything we do, insurance, everything. We do support the students end to end.
It's great. Manish, thank you so much for being here this morning. There's a lot to be covered, and looking at how this can actually work to make sure that you're getting the perfect match when it comes to education, and further than working abroad. Thanks for being here today. Manish Sardana is the CEO and founder of Craydel Kenya, and we've been talking about basically connecting the link towards a broken system and using innovation to do that.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.